My girlfriend admitted, "I've been using your credit card to pay my ex's rent." I replied, "That's kind of you." Then I reported the card stolen and filed a police report. Her face when officers showed up at her workplace. First off, I want to apologize for the novel-length post. But trust me, you're gonna want the details on this one. Imagine getting a notification from your bank at 3 a.m. about a $1,200 charge while you're half asleep. Now imagine discovering that same charge has happened monthly for the past 7 months, and your girlfriend of 2 years has been the one authorizing it to pay her ex-boyfriend's rent. Welcome to the absolute circus that has been my life for the past 2 weeks. I, 34M, have always been careful with money. Growing up with parents who declared bankruptcy twice will do that to you. I check my accounts regularly, keep a budget, and save aggressively. But I'm not stingy. I just like knowing where my money is going. My girlfriend Melissa, 31F, moved in with me about a year ago. We met through a recreational volleyball league, hit it off immediately, and things progressed quickly. She's smart, ambitious, works in pharmaceutical sales, and has always seemed financially responsible. She drives a modest car, doesn't overspend on clothes or luxuries, and we split household expenses fairly. Or so I thought. I have 2 credit cards. One for everyday purchases and bills that I pay off monthly, and another premium card with travel benefits that I use sparingly. I'm meticulous about checking the main card, but I'll admit I got lazy with the premium one since I rarely use it. It's mostly for emergencies and big purchases. Melissa knew about both cards. The premium one stayed in my desk drawer since I rarely needed it. Looking back, I realized she'd occasionally offer to organize my desk or look for stamps, all opportunities to access the card. About 2 weeks ago, I was having trouble sleeping, so I decided to check my accounts on my phone. The notification that popped up was for the premium card, $1,200 authorized to Property Management LLC just hours earlier. Confused, I opened the account history. Same charge, same company, same amount, every month for the past 7 months. A total of $8,400. At first, I thought it was fraud. I almost woke Melissa to tell her, but something made me pause. Instead, I did some digging. The property management company was local. Their website conveniently had a tenant portal. On a hunch, I tried logging in with Melissa's email address. After trying several variations of passwords she commonly uses, her dog's name plus birth year, her mother's maiden name, etc., I got in. It took about 5 attempts before I hit the right combination. What I found floored me. I was looking at the account for Unit 407 at Lakeside Apartments. Tenant, Jason Williams. Monthly rent, $1,200. Payment method, MasterCard ending in 4567. My card. Jason, her ex-boyfriend. The one she claimed to have broken up with over 2 years ago because he was immature and couldn't keep a job. The one she supposedly hadn't spoken to since. I sat there in the dark, phone illuminating my face, trying to process this information. Why would my girlfriend be secretly paying her ex-boyfriend's rent with my money? I didn't confront her immediately. Instead, I spent the next 2 days gathering evidence, taking screenshots, and documenting everything. I also contacted my bank to flag the charges as unauthorized, but asked them not to cancel the card just yet. I wanted to hear Melissa's explanation first. On Friday evening, I took Melissa to dinner at our favorite restaurant. After our meals arrived, I casually asked, "So how's Jason doing these days?" The color drained from her face. "What? Why would you ask about him?" "Just curious how his living situation is. Lakeside Apartments is nice. Unit 407, right? Has a pool view?" She stared at me, fork frozen halfway to her mouth. "How do you know that you've been paying his rent with my credit card for the past 7 months?" About that. I slid my phone across the table showing the payment history. What followed was a masterclass in excuse-making. It's not what you think. He was going through a really hard time. He lost his job because of me, so I felt responsible. It was only supposed to be for a month or 2. I was going to tell you. I was going to pay you back. And my personal favorite, he's been blackmailing me with photos. That last one made me pause. Blackmailing you with what photos? She squirmed. From when we were together. He threatened to send them to my work if I didn't help him. That might have been believable if I hadn't already seen the messages in the tenant portal. The property management system had a communication section where tenants and landlords exchanged information. Since Melissa was handling all communications for Jason's apartment, I could see notes she'd attached to payments and responses from the management. Comments like, "Thanks babe, you're the best," and "Can't wait to see you Friday," and "Miss your cooking" didn't exactly scream blackmail victim. "So he blackmails you, but also sends heart emojis and you're visiting him to cook dinner?" I asked, more stammering, more excuses. Finally, the truth trickled out. She'd never actually broken up with Jason. He'd been her side piece for our entire relationship. She paid his rent because he was between jobs, for 2 years apparently. But she was with me because I was stable and had good prospects. Lucky me, right? I took a slow sip of water and said, "That's kind of you, supporting your ex like that." She looked relieved at my calm reaction. "I'm so glad you understand. I promise I'll break it off with him and pay you back every cent." I nodded thoughtfully. Sure. Actually, would you excuse me for a minute? Need to use the restroom." In the restroom, I called my bank and reported unauthorized transactions on my credit card. Then I called the non-emergency police line and filed a report for credit card fraud. The officer I spoke with said they'd follow up quickly given the significant amount involved and the recurring nature of the fraud. When I returned to the table, Melissa was texting frantically, probably warning Jason. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just work stuff." She smiled too brightly. "So, are we good?" "I promise this will never happen again." "Oh, I know it won't," I replied, signaling for the check. I paid with my other card, left a generous tip, and we headed home in uncomfortable silence. Once home, Melissa launched into damage control mode, crying, promising to make things right, saying she'd always loved me more. I let her talk herself out while I packed a small overnight bag. "Where are you going?" she finally noticed. "I think it's best if I stay at my brother's tonight. Give us both some space." "But we need to talk about this." "We already did. You've been stealing from me and cheating on me. Not much more to discuss." I left her standing in the living room, mouth open in mid-protest. The next morning was a Saturday. Melissa had to work. Her pharmaceutical company ran weekend educational events at medical offices. I returned home after she left and changed all the locks. I also packed up her essential belongings into boxes and placed them in the garage. Then I waited. Around 2 p.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Is this Derek Morgan?" A professional female voice. "Yes, it is. This is Officer Reyes with the county police. We're following up on your fraud report. We have a few questions for Miss Melissa Chen. Our records show she works at Northside Medical Plaza today. Would you like to be informed when we speak with her?" "Actually, I was planning to stop by the plaza anyway to pick up a prescription," I said, which wasn't entirely untrue. I did need to refill something soon. "I understand," Officer Reyes replied. "Just to be clear, we normally handle these matters privately, but given the ongoing nature of the fraud and the fact that you share a residence, it's helpful to have you available for any immediate questions that might arise. We'll be there in about 30 minutes if you'd like to coordinate." I arrived at the medical plaza just before the officers. The educational event was in the main lobby. Melissa at a table with pamphlets, samples, and a banner for some diabetes medication. She was in full professional mode, chatting with a nurse when I walked in. Her smile faltered when she saw me, confusion crossing her face. That confusion turned to panic when 2 uniformed officers entered behind me. "Melissa Chen?" Officer Reyes approached her table. Melissa nodded, eyes darting between me and the officers. "We'd like to ask you some questions regarding unauthorized use of a credit card belonging to Derek Morgan." The nurse quietly excused herself. Other medical staff and patients in the lobby tried to pretend they weren't watching. "There must be some mistake," Melissa said, voice higher than normal. "Derek and I are together. I have authorization to use his card." I stepped forward. "Actually, officer, I never authorized her to use my card for any purpose, let alone to pay her other boyfriend's rent for 7 months. The look on Melissa's face was what I imagine someone looks like when they're simultaneously having a heart attack, stroke, and realizing they left the stove on. Pure terror mixed with disbelief. That's not. "Derek, tell them." Officer Reyes was impressively stoic. Miss Chen, we have documentation of payments made to Lakeside Apartments for Unit 407, registered to Jason Williams, using Mr. Morgan's credit card without his authorization. That's potential felony fraud. Melissa's pharmaceutical company banner collapsed as she stumbled backwards. A bowl of candy-colored stress balls promoting Glycenex scattered across the floor like tiny bouncing planets escaping her gravitational pull of self-destruction. I can explain everything, she insisted, voice trembling. You'll have that opportunity, the other officer said, but first we need you to come with us to answer some questions. They didn't handcuff her, which was mildly disappointing, but probably appropriate given she wasn't physically resisting. As they escorted her out, her eyes locked with mine. A silent plea for help mixed with fury at my betrayal. I just gave her a small wave and collected a green stress ball as a souvenir. The aftermath was both simpler and more complicated than I expected. Simpler because the evidence was overwhelming. My bank initiated an expedited investigation given the police report and Melissa's subsequent confession. They reversed all the charges due to the clear evidence of fraud. Melissa admitted everything during questioning. Jason, when contacted by police, claimed he had no idea the payments were coming from stolen funds, insisting Melissa had told him it was her card. Whether that's true or not, I don't really care. Complicated, because word spreads fast. By Sunday, our mutual friends were blowing up my phone. Half were supportive, half thought involving the police was extreme, and I should have worked it out privately. Apparently, some people think $8,400 in credit card theft is a couples counseling issue, rather than a criminal one. Melissa's pharmaceutical company suspended her pending investigation. Turns out companies that sell controlled substances frown upon employees with potential fraud charges. Her parents called me, somehow simultaneously apologizing for their daughter's behavior while also suggesting I was heartless for pressing charges. On Monday, my landlord helped me formally start the eviction process, though it wouldn't be necessary. Melissa's father rented a U-Haul, and under my supervision, they emptied her belongings from the garage and the few remaining items inside. She wasn't present. Apparently, she'd been staying with Jason, which surprised absolutely no one. She made a mistake, but she's not a criminal, her father said as they were leaving. Everyone deserves a second chance. This wasn't her second chance, I replied. It was her 94th chance, spread out over 7 months of deliberate theft. He had no response to that. Jason eventually contacted me through a mutual acquaintance, claiming he'd had no idea Melissa and I were still together, that she'd told him we'd broken up months ago, and she was just staying at my place temporarily while looking for her own apartment. Could be true. Could be bullshit. Either way, not my problem anymore. The prosecutor's office called last week. Given the amount stolen and the clear intent, they're pursuing felony fraud charges. Melissa has apparently hired a lawyer and is trying to negotiate a plea deal. The detective mentioned she's offering to pay full restitution in exchange for reduced charges. My take on that? Great. Take the money. Also take the consequences. Some people have suggested I'm being vindictive, that if she pays me back, I should drop the charges. But this isn't about the money. It never was. It's about someone I trusted completely betraying that trust, repeatedly, methodically, over months. It's about her making a conscious decision, 212 days in a row, not to come clean. If someone steals your wallet, they're a thief. If someone steals your wallet every day for 7 months while sleeping in your bed, there's something else entirely. Last night, I received a handwritten letter from Melissa, delivered by her sister. 8 pages of tear-stained apologies, explanations, and pleas for forgiveness. She claims she's broken things off with Jason for real this time, that she started therapy, that she realizes now how much she truly loves me. I read it once, then filed it with all the other documentation. The strangest part of all this? I don't feel angry anymore. I'm not sad or heartbroken either. Mostly, I feel relieved, like I've put down a heavy backpack I didn't realize I'd been carrying. There's something clarifying about betrayal this complete. It leaves no room for what-ifs or second-guessing. My brother says I've handled it well, but I don't think that's true. A well-adjusted person probably wouldn't have shown up at the medical plaza to watch the confrontation. A mature individual might not have taken that green stress ball as a trophy. It sits on my desk now, a reminder that stress can be contained and managed, even when it explodes in a shower of pharmaceutical marketing materials across a medical lobby floor. But I am sleeping better. I've returned to the volleyball league where we met. I'm going to therapy myself, trying to understand why I missed or ignored the signs. And I check all my credit card statements weekly now, line by line, with the vigilance of someone who's learned an $8,400 lesson. If there's a moral to this story, I suppose it's this. Trust should be given freely, but verified regularly. And if you're going to commit credit card fraud, maybe don't pay for a recurring monthly expense that creates a perfect paper trail directly back to your paramour's love nest. Or maybe the moral is simpler. Don't be an idiot like Melissa. Update 3 months later. Many of you asked for an update, so here's where things stand 3 months after the pharma rep fraud fiasco, as my friends have taken to calling it. Legally, things resolved faster than expected. Melissa took a plea deal. Felony fraud reduced to misdemeanor theft, 2 years probation, full restitution, and 200 hours of community service. No jail time, which is fine by me. I just wanted accountability, not vengeance. She paid back the full $8,400 plus interest within weeks. Her parents helped, I'm told. The money went straight to my travel fund. I'm thinking Japan next spring. Cherry blossoms seem like a nice, symbolic fresh start. As for Melissa's career, the pharmaceutical company terminated her, but she's already found a new sales position with a medical device company. Apparently, her lawyer successfully argued that since the fraud wasn't related to her work responsibilities with controlled substances, it shouldn't permanently impact her career. Fair enough. Jason, the freeloading ex, got evicted from his apartment within a month after my card stopped paying his rent. According to mutual connections, he tried to move in with Melissa at her parents' house, where she was staying, but her father shut that down immediately. Last I heard, he's couch surfing and between opportunities again. The mutual friends who thought I overreacted have mostly come around, especially after learning the full extent of the deception. A few remain firmly in Melissa's corner, insisting she made one mistake. These people have been quietly relocated to acquaintance status in my life. My apartment feels different now, lighter somehow. I rearranged the furniture, replaced the bedding, and painted the living room a color the paint store calls new slate. The irony wasn't lost on me. Physical spaces hold emotional memories, but sometimes a few cans of paint can help reset things. The green stress ball still sits on my desk, though it's faded from handling. My therapist says keeping trophies from painful experiences can be either healthy or unhealthy depending on the meaning we assign them. For me, it's a reminder of resilience rather than revenge. Though I'll admit the memory of those bouncing across the medical lobby floor still makes me smile. Melissa has respected the no-contact order. Her sister reached out once to tell me Melissa is in therapy and working on herself. I wished her well and meant it. Whatever demons drove her to maintain a double life while systematically stealing from me are hers to exercise now. Dating again feels like a distant concept, but not an impossible one. Trust will come harder next time, but maybe that's not entirely bad. A healthy dose of verification alongside trust isn't cynicism. It's wisdom dearly purchased. If you're reading this and recognizing signs of financial infidelity in your own relationship, please know that confronting it sooner rather than later is always better. 7 individual months of $1,200 somehow felt less devastating than the cumulative $8,400 realization. And if you're the person thinking about using someone else's credit card to fund your secret life, remember that digital paper trails are forever. Stress balls bounce unpredictably, and pharmaceutical sales reps are not authorized to dispense justice, but sometimes they're present when it's served.